media has created a digital currency among us as humans, where essentially you can grow in social status by portraying yourself in a certain manner online. The bad thing about this is that like, social media doesn't really exist. It's a construct. Yes, it exists in the minds of us as human beings, but in physical reality, it doesn't really exist. So when someone has a certain amount of followers or portrays a certain lifestyle online, that might be the case. But in the real world, in reality, it doesn't add up. It doesn't hold weight because it's a facade, it's a persona. And so the difficulty with this and with individuals in relating to the health and the wellness is that people will go online and they'll see people with these fantastic bodies. They'll see people with amazing looking faces and amazing looking aesthetics. And they'll be like, this is what I want. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want to look nice. You want to make sure that you are of your highest in every single one. You want excellence across the board. But when you're reviewing the outer shell of a person, this doesn't speak to what's going on internally. And so someone might display phenomenal outward display, same thing as with social media. They're displaying this one aspect of life that's high level and super nice and great to look at. But internally, what is going on? And like I said, everything goes within the spiritual world and then stems from out of there. So you go and you're like, okay, well, what is this person like? What's their personality? How they treat people? Who are they like as a human being? What's their character? What's their value structure? What's their morals? What's their ethics? How do they operate with? I mean, for morals and ethics, that can be changed. But how do they treat people? Do they regard every single human being with respect and dignity? Or do they demean? Do they judge? Do they criticize? Do they believe themselves to be better off of just the physical looking of their body? Do they actually try to help other humans, or are they selfish? Are they prideful? Do they want to see humanity grow and progress, or are they just focused on seeing themselves be better than other people? So it's going deeper with that, and that's on social media. But in terms of the body, you want to make sure that like you never want to abuse or neglect anyone, right? So don't do the same thing with yourself. And self, that means so many things. You can't define self through the simplicity of the English language. It's way more than that. And even the symbolism of self is deeper than that. And so there's aspects of self within yourself. And the aspects of self within yourself can't be neglected. And so your internal organs, right? Your heart, your lungs, your stomach, your intestines. So when you value health and wellness, yes, you want to look good, but what you really value is self. And you value self-love, because self-love doesn't just care about the outer shell of the body. Self-love cares about the heart. Self-love cares about mind. Self-love cares about your throat and the different chakra points in the body. The self-love cares about what are you giving your body. Self-love cares about what is the state of your heart. Self-love cares about how is the river of life, blood flowing throughout your body. Self-love cares about how's my nervous system functioning. What is it being fueled on? Is it being fueled on hate, wrath, bitterness, resentment? Or is it being fueled on love, joy, hope, peace, kindness? And individuals will be like, oh, that doesn't mean anything. Yes, it does. Guys, we're humans. We are made to connect with other people. And in that connectivity, we're able to share experiences. We're able to share love. We're able to share joy. We're able to share hope, peace. But when there's a cutting off and there's a neglection, then this will lead to a disconnection. And when you disconnect with self, then you are willing to disconnect with others. And when you disconnect with others, then you're willing to disconnect with things that will fuel you and sustain you. And so this is how you disconnect from source. And so this is a form of self-hatred. And so hate, and I've dove deep into this. I actually began to study this, hate. And so hate comes when you believe that there is a discrepancy, when you believe that there is a distinction, that there is a separation, that there is an opposite. And so some individuals, when they view their body, they view their body as separate from them. They view their internal as separate from them. They view even the outer sphere as separate from them. And when you view the world in this manner, it's easier to hate that thing because you do not believe this thing is within the best interest of you. And so it's easier for you to cast it aside and get rid of it because you believe this thing is hindering you and you don't believe that it can be of aid and of use to you. And so a lot of times, this is how individuals even view their bodies. A lot of individuals, they have a lot of self-hate for their bodies. And so they'll look at the mirror and they don't like the representation because they don't like what they're seeing. They immediately reject it. And because they reject it, they're unwilling to even engage with it. And because they're unwilling to even engage with it, there is nothing that they can do to even improve it. And so then that point of hate sits within them. And then people don't like hating just themselves. They want other people to feel like them. And so they project this outward. And it's either easier for them to hate things, hate people, hate aspects, even in hate God. And so when you don't connect and you don't give yourself what it needs, then that deep cesspool of bitterness, it just grows and grows and grows and grows. And it becomes not a internal fire that leads to passion and motivation and drive, but it creates a cold kind of fire that leads to a internal hardening. And it leads to a darkness where essentially you sit chained and tied to a perspective and a belief. And so that is all hate is. And so to transcend this, all you need is more understanding. And so begin to invert how you engage with health and wellness. And then perhaps you can see those improvements. Guys, you're not set in stone. When you came out of your mother's womb, you developed into an adult. And so you can still develop more and more and more and more. Like you don't just develop physically, you develop mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. But what the modern world has depicted to you guys is that at a certain point you stop. You never stop. You always can progress. Some of the more prominent historical figures from the past, they didn't go to formal educational schools. They didn't have high-level teachers, or they didn't have public education at all. They taught themselves. And so what does it mean to teach yourself? It just means that you're just working on yourself. It's just self-improvement. And so you can essentially just improve yourself infinitely. And so it doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you finish. And so you might have the beginning circumstance be in such a place where you're like, man, I was really behind, but guys, you can catch up. And there's so many tools for you, not even to catch up, but even extend past, because no one's doing this. No, there's so few people who are willing to put in the work. And it's not because individuals don't have time, the tools, or the resources. They just don't have the willingness. And so what you must do is you must have the willingness to engage. And if you have the willingness to engage, then you will see progress. Now, I can't put a timeline, right? And it's not going to be fast and it's not going to be easy, but you will see progress. And when you have that hindsight and you look back and you see the line of development, then you'll be like, oh, thank God I did this. Thank God I stepped forward. Thank God I began to just take one step at a time. You might not even have to, you don't have to go out and save the world. Just start by tying your shoelaces. Start by making your bed. Start by drinking 1 glass of water a day. Start by doing 1 push-up. Then you can do 2 push-ups. Then you go on infinitely. And now you pick up steam. Now you build momentum. Guys, I'll share a very intimate moment with myself. I am not the most social person in the world. I would consider myself an introvert. But what I've been doing, and I believe that the introversion is just a self-deluding thing that we humans place on ourselves. I think everyone's an extrovert at heart, especially if you get around friends. You'll see people who are introverts, they'll get around extroverts and they'll immediately come out of their shell. So it's not about introversion, it's about comfort. And so a lot of humans, when they go out and they're around a lot of humans, they don't feel comfortable. And so if you go and you watch like TED Talks or you watch very profound speakers, you'll see that they can be comfortable, but they might be uncomfortable in that they still might not like being in that environment, but they're comfortable in the sense that they're okay with other humans listening to their thoughts, opinions, and ideals. And so you need to become comfortable being uncomfortable. And then within that, you can still maintain your character and being yourself, and you can come out of your shell more and more. So with myself, I went from being an introvert and I didn't go out much. I would just read books all day and I would study.